Welcome to Sir Lancelot's Real Estate Roundtable, your guide to mastering the realm of real estate in Central East Florida. I am Sir Lancelot Leonard, ready to uncover the secrets of seller strategies, home staging, mortgage mastery, and more. From Daytona Beach to Cocoa Beach, Lake County to St. Augustine, join me as we navigate the intricacies of real estate. As the leader of the Sir Lancelot Group at Florida Homes Realty and Mortgage, I'm here to arm you with knowledge and innovation, whether you're a seasoned homeowner or a first-time buyer, unveiling the kingdom of real estate, one roundtable at a time. Welcome back to the Real Estate Roundtable. Today, we're diving deep with a guest who's not only fluent in 4 languages, but speaks the universal language of trust and results in real estate. Joining us is Yashmit Gutierrez, a powerhouse Florida Realtor with eXp Realty, who's rewriting the rulebook for multicultural and multilingual real estate success. From navigating deals in English, Spanish, Hindi, and Punjabi to helping buyers and sellers feel seen, heard, and empowered. Yashmit's journey from healthcare and insurance into housing is as inspiring as it is impactful. If you've ever wondered why your home isn't selling, what myths people believe about realtors, or how to find true balance in a 24/7 industry, this episode is for you. Ishmeet, welcome to the pod.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm
It's
honored.
good. This is going to be a lot of fun, guys. 4 languages, come on. Even one is hard to master. I have to retake that intro twice just so you guys know. So let's get into this. Yashmi, take us back to your life before real estate. You were a healthcare and business sales. What was the moment that made you say, this is it? I'm meant to be in real estate. Tell me.
It was a various reasons. Me and my husband were looking to buy a house at that time. And then we were having our first baby. So I was like, I need to transition. I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom for a couple years because I was work for the past decade. So I couldn't find a realtor that I could trust. I've interviewed a couple and I was like, I did not click with them. I was like, I couldn't find let's see, I couldn't trust them. So I was like, let me do this on my own. And then I have a friend in Miami who's an agent, and she talked to me about it. She came over one weekend and oh, I got my real estate license and you can easily make 10 grand a year. And I was like, oh, really? I was like, I did like my math and I'm like, okay, that's about like $900 a month that I could pay bills while my husband worked and be a stay-at-home mom too. And she's like, yeah, you can easily make $10,000 a year. And I was like, okay, so took my real estate license. I passed it on the first try. I had to read the book 3 times, front to back. And I just dived in. And then I had a background in insurance before I got into real estate. So I used those skills into real estate. And then healthcare was something I wanted to do, like pharmacy, since I graduated from high school. It didn't work out. I tried. I was a pharmacy tech for about 6 years. And then when we had our first baby, I was like, I need to switch. I want to do something from home. So that's where got into real estate.
So, what values from your previous career do you carry into every transaction today?
I carry customer service big. I'm big on that. I want to treat others how I would like them to treat me. When I make a phone call for something, let's say there's a credit card issue, I call them. I want them to go the extra mile and give me that excellent customer service. And that's what I do. And that's what I brought over from insurance and pharmacy tech. I also understand what they're trying to say. It's really important to listen to your clients. Sometimes they're upset about something, sometimes they just need a small issue to be resolved. And that's where I come in as an expert, is to solve their problem. I made that motto last year in my real estate career, is I solve your real estate problem. Even if you're buying a house from renting, that's a problem that we need to solve for you because you're renting and you want to buy a house now. If you want to downsize, if you want to upsize. So stuff like that, I listen to them. I always make sure I don't let my emotions come in because that gets really tough, where if I'm pissed off that they don't want this house, they want to look at 2 more houses, I can't let that ruin our relationship. So I have to make sure that my emotions are as calm as possible. And accuracy in numbers, because pharmacy is all about numbers. The insurance industry was all about numbers. So real estate is all about numbers too. So that also I transferred over from my healthcare and insurance to real estate.
It's awesome. Yeah. You speak four languages fluently. That's a lot of languages. Spanish, Hindi, Punjabi. Come on. Those are like totally different languages. How has that shaped your client relationship in Central Florida?
I see that it helps me understand and relate to them because every culture is different. I might say something, let's say in Spanish, that if you translate to English, it doesn't make any sense, or with Punjabi or with Hindi. And every culture has their own way of doing things. So for me to be able to understand them, like internally where they're coming from, helps me build their confidence or build their trust and their communication with them. I think also with other cultures besides like the English language, you have to explain everything in detail. Sometimes first time home buyers, they don't speak the English language. They don't have a clue what to do, how to get started. They probably heard a myth, oh, 20% down. That's not always the fact. That's not always, you don't always have to have 20% down to buy a house. So just making sure that I communicate in their language as detailed as possible and as clear as possible so that they understand and they don't feel like they're being like defrauded or something, because that's really common too, is when they don't understand language they think you're probably just frauding them. So I think that's really important to make sure that I understand where they're coming from.
Oh, for sure. That's a cultural thing too. I think language is a key to another culture. I
Yeah.
speak three myself, and I know that it is totally different when you speak to somebody in their own language compared
Mhm.
to when you're trying to explain it to them in English. And even word games, small word games in one language comes out totally different in another
Yeah.
language. It doesn't even make sense, maybe in English, if it's in Hungarian or Swedish or other languages. I speak
Right.
those ones. And for a fact, no, that's totally, they feel much more comfortable with you once you speak their language or if you speak their language. And even in English, they say, try to speak their language. It's a good saying, or learn to speak their language, as in assimilate with them, be like them. It helps build confidence. I think that's a great way of building a business, too, by the way.
Yeah, you get double the amount of clients or triple. They're like, "Oh, you're from there." Then they get so excited and they get to relate with you. I always listen to something that I can relate with them and I bring it out and I'm like, "Oh, like for example, I have a client right now who's from Hawaii and I spoke to them and I'm like, "Oh, I went to Hawaii last year. Me and my whole family traveled there." And they got so excited. We had an hour-long conversation. They asked like where we stayed, stuff like that. So stuff like that, that builds more confidence and they feel comfortable with you, like you mentioned.
Can you share a story where being multilingual completely changed the buyer or seller's experience?
Yes, I currently last year I helped a client who unfortunately didn't have they couldn't buy a house the traditional way with a social security number and all that. So they did seller financing and they didn't have anything, no tax ID, no social, no visa. It was not the traditional way to buy a house. And they got the house because they were able to do seller financing. And that's when if people don't know what that is you get to finance the house through the seller. The seller basically becomes your bank. And they are so appreciative till this day. They refer me all their clients. I'm actually helping them right now, their family member buy a house the same seller financing way. And they cried the day of closing so hard. Like it's just emotional to even talk about it. Stuff like that is something that they will always remember for the rest of their life. They even text me. They're like, "Oh, how you doing? How are your kids? We appreciate you that you helped us buy our house." And it's just amazing. It's amazing. Things like that you never thought they probably never thought they could buy a house and they were able to.
That's a great story. It warms your heart, especially the closing. It's, oh my God, it happened. We got it.
And then
Finally, another
that's how you
homeowner.
build your business because they're gonna refer me all their clients because I helped them and I did it. And it was a different language too, so they appreciate it. And we related in a lot of ways because my husband's from where they're from, so it was really nice.
Languages. How do you handle translating not just language, but cultural expectations, fears, and dreams? Like that's totally different in every culture.
I grew up around a lot of different cultures from elementary school. So I have a feeling and an idea of how every culture works because I've been around it for so long. You gain experience over time. So if one culture, for example, it's a small thing. In one culture, when you somebody brings you tea and you don't fill it to the top because it's going to spill over. In other cultures, that is a good thing because if you lower the tea amount in the cup, they'll be like, oh, they don't want to serve us tea. So stuff like that, you have to be very careful of, but it's fun. I love it. I love it because I get to relate with them and they're like, "Oh, how do you know this?" Because a lot of people don't know. And when you say hi, some people bow down, some people can do it with their hands. Stuff like that, they love. The clients love that kind of stuff, and that's what I bring out and try to relate with them in a way that it surprises them.
Kiss, bow, and shake hands. This is a really good book that my first broker, Susie Lawson, told me to start reading. At least buy it and have it at home because you never know who you're going to work with. Any new agents out there, I recommend it highly. Have you heard about
Nice.
that book?
No, I have not.
Kiss, bow,
Write
and
it
shake hands.
down.
It's really thick. I'd say it's probably like 1,500 pages.
Oh, wow.
Might have it behind me somewhere.
Must be a good read.
It's as boring as it sounds, but the point is not that. It's okay. Where are you guys from? Oh, we're from India. Okay, you're from India. You go to India in the book before your first meeting and see what their culture is, what they like to do. Do they bow? Do they shake hands? Do they kiss? Do they hug? Do they
Yes.
drink tea in the afternoon? What is that makes them tick? What makes them feel comfortable? And that's the whole point about the book is so you can adapt to their style. So they'll feel comfortable about how you treating them. And they know that you're not a sleazy salesperson just trying to sell them another house. It's about, hey, I learned a little bit about your culture to
Mhm.
impress you so we can work comfortably together. And it's not always everybody says it's about the sale. It's about the sale. It's not about the sale. It's
It's
about
not.
building relationships that will last.
Yeah.
And then the sale is a consequence of your relationship, and that's how you earn your money. But
Yes.
it's a consequence of what you build as a trust with the client.
Yep. You got
Yeah.
it.
Kiss, bound, shake hands. It's a good book to have at home, at least for anybody who's in any kind of real estate or sales. It is a good book to have. So let's debunk some myths, okay? What's one thing you hear all the time from your clients that just isn't true?
The real estate agents don't do anything. I hate that myth so bad. I've tried to do my social media around it where I show stuff behind the scenes. The public does not understand how much time we sacrifice with family. It can be late nights, early mornings. You have to be mentally very strong to run a real estate business because if you don't time manage, if you're not there for your family, if you're not there for your client, if you're not there for yourself, you can just go down a rabbit hole real quick because the real estate business or any business is always about the mindset. You have to know when to shut off and be like, okay, I can't do this anymore. I can't be on my phone all day long. And then my kids are screaming, hey, look at me or look what I'm doing. You have to be there's a lot that we sacrifice, and that's what the public doesn't understand. And that's something I'm working on showing the public through my social media, through what I say, because we do a lot. It's not just we just buyer puts in an offer and tomorrow we get a paycheck. That's not how it is. We don't even get paid until the buyer closes.
No, there is. I don't remember. Do you remember it was going around social media the 99 things a real estate agent does for you during a
Mhm.
transaction? And it was only 99 points. Besides, and a lot of people don't understand what goes on before we actually meet the client.
Yes.
There's a lot to our business that, so yeah, now you're here looking at houses and then we're writing an offer. That's only half the business. The other
Yep.
half is getting the client.
Client. Yes.
And then, sorry, I was, let's say 1/3 is getting the clients, a third is doing the transaction itself or showing houses, doing the transaction or listing a property, selling the property, doing the marketing and all that. And then the last third part is the follow up.
Yep.
That is key as well in every successful real estate agent's business.
And getting
So,
the client is the hardest part.
yeah.
You start out with nothing when you get your real estate license, and the license doesn't even prepare you of how to get a client. It's all about laws and terminology and contracts. Not even the contract. They don't even review
No,
the contract in the
no
license.
contract.
You have to figure that out. You have to take classes. You always have to be willing to learn, adapt to change. Every year there's something different going on in the market. It's a lot. We do a lot, and it hurts me when people say you don't do anything. You're just sitting at home in a chair and you're on the computer. But so that's what I'm trying to change, because we have to show what we do different.
That's true. I could do the same argument as when you bought that chair, just saying for your dining room table, and you paid $1,000 for it, let's say, because it's a really nice chair. So what did they do? They just sold it to you on Amazon, but they got paid $1,000 from you. Now you're purchasing your largest purchase, and what do you think we feel as realtors
Yeah.
when we do that for you? It's a big responsibility. There's a lot of pressure on finding the right house and making sure that the transaction goes smoothly, that the house doesn't have major issues. We're here for you for all of those things and then help you negotiate the way through or give you advice on, yay, let's take this deal because it's a good deal, or okay, I think that this is not probably not going to work out the best way. Maybe we should leave this house and again look for a different house. And that's something really hard to swallow for a lot of agents. So, okay, paycheck's out the window for now. Let's go look for another house. And but they do it because they're there for the client.
Correct.
It's not my house. So
Yep.
it's your house. And it's much more for my house, I might be much more lenient
Yeah.
towards what I want compared to someone else's house because now I'm responsible in a way of guiding you to get the best house for yourself. No?
Yep. Yep. You're right. And
And those are
then
the mental things that a lot of people don't understand. And that's the thing that I think you could share in your social media as well is these are things we do you don't realize, but this is it's psychology. And that's the pressure that we try to figure out and work in ourselves while we're doing this business.
And then the client, seller, and the buyer always deal emotionally. They don't think logically. I've noticed with buyers and stuff, they just want the money or they want the house. They don't care if something's, sometimes they don't even care if something's broken in the house. They're like, I just want a sign, give me the key. And they're just emotional, but we have to think of it as an agent, the side that, okay, we don't want to be in a lawsuit. We want to make sure that if when you move in, the house doesn't fall or some stuff like that we can't deal with emotionally. We have to think logically and give them the pros and cons of the right choice of what they need to make.
Oh yeah. The pros and cons list. I always tell them is if you can't make up your mind which house you want, put a sheet down and do pros and cons for each home and see which one comes out better. And those
Yep.
advices, these are small little tricks. I would call it tricks, but it's guidance that a lot of people, regular people, don't really do in their everyday lives. So here, you're learning something, and you can use this sort of gift that I gave you on the pros and cons in other aspects of your life as well.
Mhm.
Buying a car or going on a vacation, et cetera, et cetera. Is what's the pros and what's the cons? If you want to use some skills that we learned from our brokers and our education and our path of getting to where we are as realtors.
I
No?
had to tell a client the other day, I'm like, because the way that they were negotiating was just ridiculous. And I'm like, you're not buying something from a flea market. I literally had to use that phrase because they just wouldn't understand. And I'm like, this is a house that you're buying. They wanted all the discounts in the world. They wanted to cut the buyer's commission, seller's compensation. And I'm like, we can't do this. And I literally had to use that phrase. I'm like, you're not buying something from the flea market. This is a house. And
Yeah.
you have to think logically. You can't just think you're buying, I don't know, shoes from a flea market or fruit. I don't know. It's
I think
like,
they always come to the hard realization when people are pushing back on the negotiation style. I always try to open their eyes on look, there's every tree bends. Well, like every branch, you can bend it, but at a certain point, they'll all snap. We
yes,
want to get it as bent as possible, but
absolutely.
not to snap. That's where we want to get in a negotiation because that's okay. We're getting the maximum out of this. They still feel comfortable. If it snaps and they don't feel good, it's not a win win. Everybody has to feel good in a transaction so we can go shake hands at the end at the table, maybe have a closing together with the sellers at the same time, which is usually pretty rare. But if you can get that, and here are the keys, and thank you. We left you a champagne bottle in the fridge. Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
You know, all that happens. And everybody's happy and exchange phone numbers. And can we call you if we have any questions? Yeah, of course. Here's my number. That's the transaction I always love to see because now they make friends too. And they talk and they have a really good experience. I think that's great. A little bit off topic, but that's where
They're
that's I
right.
think
The emotions just gets to them, and it's really important in the everybody's emotion, even the agent's emotions. You have to be able to calm them down and make sure that they don't get out of line because they're representing their client, and then we also have to represent our client on our side. So it's hard. It's not easy. I'm not gonna say it's easy at all.
the 11th hour when the buyer comes up with, I don't want to buy this house anymore.
Yes.
You're like there, you're like closing's tomorrow.
There's a lot of detailed like timelines. A lot of first time home buyers don't know about the deadlines. And then you go under contract, you have to send your escrow in 3 days or however, whichever state you're in. They don't understand that. And you have to guide them like when you guide a toddler or a baby, show them the way.
Yeah, for sure. So what do you think most sellers get wrong when their home isn't selling?
That's my favorite question. I've noticed lately in this industry, even in my transaction where I'm helping the buyer, the sellers are representing themselves. They don't even have an agent. They pay a company to list their home on the MLS. And I see things and I am like, you are just signing yourself up for a lawsuit because of the way that you're doing the thing. They don't know how to negotiate because that's not their expertise. They don't the pictures. I'm just like, your house is on the market for this many days because of your marketing. Sellers don't know marketing. They just think, oh, my house is the beautifulest house on the street and it's gonna sell quick. The price is out of line. It's just a lot of things that I've noticed. And the worst one out of all is when the sellers are not represented by an agent. That to me is just you can just I don't know, it's just crazy the
The
way.
FISBO,
Uh,
time to convert.
I
So
understand they want to save money, but I'm telling you, what I'm seeing, I've even had sellers call me out when I submit an offer. They're like, "Oh, what advice would you give me?" I'm like,
can't
"No, I'm not doing this."
I can't. I'm sorry. Working for the other side. And that's
Yeah,
the truth. We have a signed agreement now, an exclusive with all our
yeah,
buyers. So maybe back in the past when it was just transaction broker, you're there. It wasn't even advised. It was talking to both sides and getting them to the table to close a deal. There, this point now in the new world with the new laws in place for us realtors, we have exclusive with our buyers. So we could absolutely not even share a tiny bit of information on our buyers to the seller. So if you're a seller and listening, you should
hmm
get your own agents because it's worth the money that they're going to ask for you to be legally protected and represented in a way in a transaction to counter the other agents negotiation tactics because this is what they do. This is what
yeah.
buyers agents do all day long is going out there and negotiating.
And
So
it's
you're as a seller,
sad.
I sold a house 10 years ago. Great. How many cars did you buy in the last 10 years? Two. Okay. So you had three negotiations, major negotiations
Yeah,
in your last 10 years, while a buyer's agent that represented an average buyer's agent probably sells around 10 houses a year. That's 10 a year. So you probably did 100
yeah.
negotiations in the last 10 years if they've been an agent for 10 years. Even if they've been an agent for 1 year, they've beat you
They
by
still do.
seven more
Right.
negotiations. And the everyday teachings of other brokers and agents that they listen to and learn from throughout their time as an agent. So it's always worth having an agent in your corner.
I
You
tell
know,
my sellers, hey, interview a couple. You don't have to go with the first one that you find. Interview 3 to 5 agents and ask them questions. I have a checklist in my social media. Download that checklist, ask them the questions because the things I've seen, it's crazy. It's sad too. It just hurts my soul because I love my sellers and my buyers. I love both sides, but sellers, I'm like, you're just signing up for a mess, a lawsuit, and we don't want that.
and at the end of the day, there's statistics out there that a for sale by owner is losing more money than what it would cost to have an agent.
Yes.
Number one, they don't usually count with these things, but carrying cost of the house. You're on the market for a year. Devaluation of the home. days on market. If it's been on the market for a year, guess what the first buyer's going to ask? What's wrong with that house?
Oh,
So
right.
let's go in with a low ball offer.
Correct.
Now you're negotiating from a bottom point instead of a top point. You get an agent, you price the home right, and you get offers within the first 2 weeks. Guess what your offers are going to be? Pretty much close to your asking price of what probably the agent recommended to you, if they're good agents. Because there are some bad agents out there that just want the listing. But there are good agents, a lot of good agents out there, and they'll do the best to inform you about where the price should be and how you should be marketed. And they'll market it for you. That's their job, basically. They'll take the professional photography, photos of the home. They'll do videos of the home. They'll post it and boost it on their social medias. They'll have letters sent out to your neighborhoods and other
Yeah.
neighborhoods about your home, that it's on the market, it's fresh. Bring your buyers, your neighbors might have a friend that wants to move in next door to them, but you don't think
I've
about that
had
as a
that.
seller.
Yeah.
I had that multiple times happen to me. And like
Yes.
once we sign on the dotted line, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna hit up all your neighbors right now. I'm gonna go out the door and knock on their door and tell them that the house is coming on the market in a day. And they're like, what? Yeah, more than likely the buyer's gonna come from your neighborhood.
Yes.
Someone that someone knows in your neighborhood.
Neighborhood.
Because they want someone to live there that they know.
No, exactly. My seller right now is selling their home, and the neighbor's friend is buying it. So the two friends are now going to be neighbors, and it's fun. But I'm telling you, sellers, you guys got to interview different agents. Reach out to me. I'm happy to give you advice. Interview me and couple agents because I know I can get it done.
Yeah, it's sometimes you don't click.
Mm-hmm.
And that's totally fine. I've told
Yeah.
multiple people that I don't think this is going to work out. No, we're not on the same frequency here.
Yeah.
I'll come back once you
When you're
get to the
ready.
same. Yeah, when
Yes.
you're ready. Exactly.
I've had that. I've done a lot of expired listings, so I know what they think. I know they want to save the money, but it's gonna hurt you in the long run. And everything's negotiable. The list price is negotiable, compensation is negotiable. So just because they want to save money shouldn't be the reason why they don't hire an agent.
Between you and me, my favorite point is always negotiating on commissions. And I'm like, look, these are my fees. This is what I like to charge. This is what I usually get for my services. When you go to a restaurant, do you start negotiating about the price? Hey, could you sit down and you order a plate of food and you're like, I don't like the broccoli. Can you remove $5 from the price of this? They won't do that. It's the
Yeah.
same thing. And this is what I always tell them is here's basically all my services. You get everything for this price. But if you want to go lower, I can lower, but do you want to lose professional photography or photography in all? I'll just take a picture of the front of the house and I'll put that
That's
one picture
it.
up. Do you want to lose videography? Would you like to lose me posting it on my social media, talking about it on my podcast, et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah.
What do you want to lose? What's worth it for you to lose? Because each of the items that are in here, this is why my price is what my price is. And you could tell me you don't want photography, you don't want mailers, you don't want this, you don't want that. But then I'm going to also advise you that it's going to take us longer to sell if
Yeah.
it's going to sell at all.
And every month's on the market, that's money that they have to pay. If there's a mortgage on the house,
Yep.
your mortgage is $3,000. You just lost 3,000 right there.
For 1 month. Now think
Right.
about that for 6 months.
6 months.
And
Yep.
it's not really the mortgage because you're still putting some money of it towards equity,
Equity.
$400 or $500. But let's say it's $2,500. You're paying for insurance, taxes, and what else you're paying for? Your electricity, your blah blah blah, all the bills combined in that house. And you're like, okay, we already moved out. We're in Washington State doing our new job. The house is on the market, empty in Orlando, and you're paying those bills. That's
Yep.
money out of your pocket, $2,500 or $3,000, as you said, per month. And you're on the market for a year. That's $36,000. You're
Yep.
talking about a $500,000 house here. Okay, an agent's commission, if they're charged, depending on what they charge you, but a percent of commission is $5,000. Okay, so 3% would be $15,000. 6% would be $30,000 and 7% would be $35,000. If you've been on the market for 1 year because you didn't price it right and you're trying to do it yourself with bad marketing, etc., and you've been on the market for a whole year, you could have paid plenty of money towards an agent because you already paid it out. You lost
Yep.
that.
Yeah.
So a good agent with a good price, with a good marketing plan can come in, get your house turned around in a couple months. You're winning with that any day
Yeah.
of the week.
We
So
got
when you meet your first time buyer who's nervous or misinformed, how do you approach that conversation?
I start out with printed material because I love that. I'm big on brochures, pamphlets, all that stuff. I make a buyer box. When I put pamphlets inside, I have these cute little goodies that I give to them. And then I have the buyer booklet where it shows them everything from meeting with them to pre-approval to showing homes under contract, inspections, all that. And then I answer all their questions because they have friends and family that tell them this thing and it's not true. And then they're like, oh, this is going to happen to me. Do I have to give you 20% down? Stuff like that. And I clear all their doubts because when there's doubts, they don't want to move forward. So I have to clear those beforehand when I meet and show them on paper how it works. That's how I get them to calm down. And I always tell them, read the small print. I'm big on that. I love reading the fine print because that's where they get you. And I tell them, read everything. And I explain it to them too. I sit down and I explain to them there's a contract, explain to them, this is the inspection period. You have this many days to do the inspection. If you don't like the house, or we can ask for a seller credit, stuff like that. And they like that because those are the doubts that they have from the beginning of how everything works.
Do you like using the other contract? We have the as is, and then we have another contract.
I like the as is, 'cause that's what we usually use, but I think it's explaining it the way it should be is how it helps
I like
them.
as is too, but the other contract gives you a way. A lot of people don't understand it. A lot of agents, because they
Mhm.
grew up with the as is. As is came into place around 2008, 2009, and that's took over since then because of all the foreclosures and things. With the previous contract was the original OG contract, where
Yeah,
you pre-negotiated fixing things with the sellers. So if you have a buyer that's always concerned about, oh, this needs to be fixed, that needs to be fixed, like, hey, let's pull out the other contract.
okay,
This will put an ease to you because we could put in that they have to fix in the amount of 1 or 2 or 3% of the purchase price to have to fix things
right,
on inspection. So when an inspection comes, and if the seller's confident that there's not going to be a lot of issues on it, they'll sign that contract all day long because they're like, what could come up? We just had an a pre-listing inspection, because that's a good thing to recommend to your sellers. Have a pre-listing inspection and then fix the items pre going on market, or while you're on market for the first couple of weeks, fix the items on the list before we get an offer. And then confidently that, hey, write me an offer on that contract and I'll be happy to fix things for you.
I used that in the beginning. I'm glad you brought it up. And I even looked up the YouTube video and read through each thing. An agent chewed me up alive that I used that contract. So I was like, probably, I don't know, traumatized from using it again. And they literally chewed me up for using that contract. So I never used it ever since. But I
I'm telling
actually,
you, we should get
yeah,
going back to that contract because it makes your buyers more relaxed, because
Max,
I
yes,
know that they're in the contract, there's pre-negotiated amount of money that they're going to spend on fixing the house. Sellers might not like it because
yeah,
a lot of sellers are like, as is, I just want to sell my house the way it is. I'm
right,
like, okay, so we'll write on an as is that case, but we won't ask for any fixes, but we're not going to put a lot of escrow in. I want it for this much less. That's the whole point. Here are two
right,
contracts. Okay. I can give you a full price offer with requests to repair items, or
yep,
I could give you an as is contract, but give me a $50,000 break because I have no idea what's wrong with your house.
exactly.
You get
A
what I'm
lot,
saying? But a lot of agents started to divert only to the as is because it's fairly simple to explain. You have a 7 day or 15-day window to back out of the contract. You're still negotiating for fixes. Why not pre-negotiate for it? You get what
right.
I'm saying?
So it's solid in the beginning.
It's solid in the beginning, and there's no, I didn't agree to that. I'm not going to fix anything. It's, look, if you don't fix it, he's going to walk away anyways. That's what we're doing now as agents. We're telling our sellers that, hey, if they gave us a list of items that they want to fix, we could say no to it and they might walk, or we could say yes to it and they're going to stay on board. Like, or we could eliminate some and then not. Now we're like, okay, what are we fixing here? Why are we doing this? It should be
Time,
pre-negotiated. Kind of. Get what
right.
I'm saying?
Yes, I
It,
agree with that.
you'd become a more savvy agent if you're utilizing the tools in your hands, which are our contract paperwork is one of our biggest tools. So if we
Yeah,
know how to use both contracts, we can play it unless the listing says as is only. because they say that.
They
And
say
you're
that,
like,
yeah.
okay, we have to write an as is contract on this. But if it doesn't say that, why not write it on the OG contract and then go in there? I think it's called a crisp contract. I'm trying to
Yeah.
think. But why not go in with that one straight off the bat? Give your buyers an ease. Hey, look, we have this contract. This
Right.
one does this, and we have this contract. This one does this. That should be something a buyer's agent explains to their buyers.
Buyers, correct.
Like we could
I
write
like
offers
that.
on two different kind of contracts. This is my value. Most agents won't even know what this contract is because they've never seen it before, which
I
is
actually did
horrible.
that. I printed it out and I wrote through it, looked up a video. That way I could explain it to my clients. But then, like I said, I got chewed up, so I didn't
I
go
would, you know
do it.
what? It if it doesn't say as is only on their listing,
Just use that one then.
and if they're chewing you up, is let me send it to your broker then,
Yeah, you're right.
because it's they have to present that offer to their client no matter what and explain it to their client. Now, if you can't explain it to your client, shame on you.
Yep.
You shouldn't be a real estate agent or go back to school. Sit back in the bench.
Those are the little things that make the public think that we're not doing what we're supposed to. Because if you don't know how to explain the contract, then you don't know anything because that's legal.
That's your main
Any,
tool.
yeah.
That's your biggest tool. You should know it in and out. I just had my conversation with my coach a couple weeks ago. And I remember because he started real estate in '99. Back
Oh,
in
wow.
those days, I took the contract. It was 9 pages. Now it's 13. It's 9 pages back then. And I learned, no, it wasn't my agent. It was a really top producing investor. She's done over 2,000 deals in her. And
Wow.
yeah, in her lifetime. And she was explaining to me in the '90s. She took it and read through it and learned every letter of it. And she does she buys properties off market and stuff.
Okay.
Because the first time she went in, it was so funny. She was explaining the story. First time she went in, it was the first door knock. She had no clue what she was doing. She didn't know contracts. She didn't know anything. She didn't know what he was doing. It was a flip. She knocked on the door and they're like, "Yeah, would you sell your house with me? I'll move in. I'll fix it up. We'll share profits, etc., etc." And she agreed to it. And then they were doing the contract. And there were words in there I didn't understand.
Mhm.
And she said, after that point, I went home and I learned the contract inside out. Guess how many times they asked me about stuff in the contract after that? I said, never again. I was like, but I knew the contract at that point.
Yes.
But she wasn't a real estate agent. She was an investor.
Investor.
But still, as an investor, knowing the contract is really important.
Yes. I printed out, I looked up the YouTube video right when I got my license. I highlighted every section and the video did a great job explaining everything. I even wrote notes because I'm like, if somebody asks me, some people read it. So you got to be ready. You can't be like, oh, let me look that up. And that's not going to work. They're gonna be like, you don't know what you're doing. So it's really important. I just pull out my binder and then I just read to them what this means. Because terminology is like real estate terminology, but the general buyers don't read it or don't understand it. So you have to explain it, dumb it down for me. I always say that, dumb it down for me.
Yeah, exactly. Escrow payment or force majeure or blah blah blah. There's those. Okay, what the hell are they say talking about? I had that. I have those questions all the time. I always emphasize to my buyers, please read through the contract
Yeah.
and come back to me. Give me the line number.
Yes.
If you want to do it in an email, you can do it in an email, and then we'll go on a phone call and I'll explain what each thing means in the
Right.
contract. It's really important to know that stuff. Like you don't want to get into a
Yes.
deal and you're like, I have no idea what I'm signing. Just blindly believe in everybody.
Smallest things like sometimes my clients don't know what a mobile notary is. Oh, I didn't know I could do that. I didn't know I could sign out at Starbucks tomorrow. Stuff like that. It's convenient for them and they don't know that. So that's our job to explain it to them.
Oh, for sure, for sure. So you built a strong pipeline of business. What are some keys to your success?
I would say being very professional is very important, such as I think dressing, I've noticed, is a big thing. People are like, oh, you're so professional. And that helps a lot with repetitive clients. I don't show up in flip-flops or something that I wouldn't be wearing in front of like a lawyer or a meeting, stuff like that. I like to dress classy because that's important. Who you are, what you look like, how you dress is important to people. And you don't want to look, quote, trashy or some stuff like that. I would say communication. I'm very detail oriented. People like that a lot. I go the extra mile. I explain everything in detail because I don't just try to get them off the phone. I want to make sure that they understand. And they don't have to work with me right away. I'll be like, hey, you don't, if I'm not the agent for you, let me know. I don't mind. It's not going to hurt my feelings. And they understand that. I've had a client who I went on a listing appointment 2 years ago, and I went to their house twice, and then they had a baby. She just called me 2 weeks ago. She's like, hey, we're ready to list. And I'm like, wow. And that's when I first started in real estate, and that showed me that it's paying off. So they don't have to work with you right away, but you don't be upset because they don't want to work with you right away. Don't stop calling them. Just send them messages and stuff like that. So I think it's really important to be in communication with them, be very detailed, and be professional. Be very professional because especially with like couples, you don't want to, I don't know, you want to give a bad impression, stuff like that.
Oh yeah, it's different from a male's perspective and a female's perspective. My
Yeah.
wife always tells me, "You guys have it semi easy because you can talk to the guys, and usually the guys cuts the check, and the girls are okay with a guy usually. But if there's a pretty girl going up and there's a guy and a girl, a lot of times the girls are like,
Like that, that's what I'm saying because you don't want to give a bad impression to their significant other, or make them feel because a lot of times it happens in this world. It's just you have to be very professional.
you're not even trying, but it happens.
Yeah, I'm like ASS, but
I'm here to help you make a deal happen. That's what I'm here for. Don't
yeah.
worry, I'm not here for your husband."
Right. Stuff like that to me is very important. It's respectful to the marriage as an agent too. With any business, you want to always make sure you're not disrespecting anybody, even your significant other. And there's no need to worry about stuff like that.
Yeah, I agree. So, what's your advice to new agents starting out, especially someone from a diverse background?
Go all in. Do not, the smallest deal that you find, just do it because a lot of people worry about the paycheck. And I always started with the mindset of, I will not let the money get to me. I will do my job professionally. I will go the extra mile and the money will follow. And that's what has happened over the past 4 years I've been doing it is the money will always follow. You just have to make sure that you don't let the money get to you. Once you start doing that, then you've just ruined your whole business because you get greedy and you just worry about the money. You don't worry about helping your client and making sure you get to the end of the transaction.
Do you want to hear how we call it? Commission breath.
Yes.
People
Yes.
feel that. I've been talking about it for a year now, and I heard it from one of my interviewees. It's a
And that
commission
is
breath.
true.
And I'm like, God, that's a good term for that. I'm gonna
Yeah.
use this all the time now.
Yes.
Don't get
Don't
commission.
do that. Don't do that because
It's not about the money, guys. It's about
it's
helping
not.
people. The more
Yeah.
people you can help, the richer you'll get. It's just about
Exactly.
helping people. That's it. We talk a lot about hustle in real estate, but you've emphasized balance. How do you manage both business and personal life without burnout?
I think the number one way to do that to avoid burnout is getting up early. I know it's hard, but getting up early, even if you worked from 5, I get up at 5 a.m. and getting up at 5 by 10 o'clock, you got most of your things done. And then if you have listing appointments or final walkthrough stuff like that, you can get that done during the day. It's not, you don't feel like, oh, you're driving to the final walkthrough and you're like, oh, I have 50 million things to do. I have to call this client, I have to call this client, submit this paperwork. Getting up early is that way you, after a couple hours, you can spend time with your family. By 6 o'clock p.m., you're done. You can have dinner and you avoid burnout by doing that, by organizing your time and time management.
That's for sure. And I don't think anything good happens after 10 p.m. anyways. So don't stay up
Yeah.
late. Go to bed early. I wake up at 5:30. So I'm almost with you at the 5 o'clock person
Yeah.
route. But I go to the gym. I get my gym out of the way in the morning. That's what I usually do. Get myself balanced and leveled before my day starts.
And take a day off. There's nothing wrong
Yeah.
with that. If Sundays is your family day, tell your clients, hey, I don't do, if somebody wants to work with you, they'll work with you. They don't have to have you working on a Sunday unless it's out of an emergency, but
There's
there's no
usually no
emergency to go
emergencies on a
to.
Sunday, anyways. No
Yeah. So,
banks are open. No title companies are open.
so
Banks are closed. Banks
time
work
off.
Monday to Friday.
Yep.
That's it. And title companies Monday to Friday. You know, Yeah, we show houses and we do stuff on the weekends. Sometimes you'll squeeze somebody in on a Sunday, but try
Mhm.
to get that one day for your
Oh,
family and
yes.
for yourself. It's really vital and important. I know I 2022, I didn't have a day for myself for 11 months. I was working from January till the end of November throughout the whole I got burnt out. Like every day.
Yeah.
Every day. I did 48 transactions on my own. No
Oh,
TC, nothing.
wow.
So when you get to that point, you're like, holy cow. As soon as what is it called? As soon as you have that chance to take that break, or you're feeling like, oh, this is a lot of pressure, a lot of things going on, you need to take that time, go for a weekend, go for a day.
Yeah.
Something, go to a basketball game if that's your thing, or take some personal time, even if
Fine.
it's a small celebration of a closed transaction. Take your
Yes.
family out for dinner.
Yep.
Just do something that's good for you that you like doing. I agree with
And
that. I went to Tony
delegating.
Robbins. That's where I learned about this.
Oh, not yes.
I had to. I'm like, God, I don't even. In December, this is how I felt in December. My phone rang and I got twitches. Oh my God,
Yeah.
my phone's ringing. No, it was crazy. I'm telling you. And then I went through Business Mastery, then I went through UPW, then I went through all the stuff with Tony Robbins, and I learned to balance myself. I was like, hey, man, you can't do this because you're going to live a half life, basically, because you'll just put all these hours into it 60, 80-hour work weeks. And you're like, at the end of the day, you wake up at 65 and you're like, why are my kids grown?
Yeah.
How was life? How was life? I don't remember. It was all
I
work.
think that's one of the reasons that we do it, and because of the schedule, like you can make your own schedule. So you have to be you have to have a strong mindset to make sure that if you want to turn off your business 6 p.m., turn it off. Don't look at your phone till the next day and delegate. If you need help, find a transaction coordinator, find the assistant. There's a lot of help out there.
That's exactly what you said. You mentioned that about greediness. You can't just be greedy towards getting a commission check. You can be greedy towards yourself too, instead of paying out that $350 for a transaction coordinator
Right.
or hiring an assistant for a couple hours a day that can put your paperwork in order and help you out with the small stuff. You could get a virtual assistant for $6 an hour. You could get a real assistant for $15 an hour that's legit and or 30, 20, I don't know, 50 to 25, depending on what kind of level you're on. If you're like an insane producer and you're making hundreds of thousands of dollars, take that and use it for the right things. I
Yep.
know it's hard. And I learned that in my own skin that I made an amazing GCI. I sold 23.5 million that year. And I should have had a TC. I should have had an assistant. And I could have done probably a lot more transactions than I did if I did have, because some people fell through the cracks because I just humanly, I didn't have the capacity to do it.
Yeah, do it all. Yep.
Yeah, yeah, it's like impossible. It's just
It
so
is.
much paperwork, so much running around. It's like I needed two cars and two me's to drive to different appointments. Holy cow! I'm like booked from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. and doing my contracts in between on my phone, sitting in a parking lot.
Yeah. I've
you
paid
know,
agents
like
to show homes because I'm like, I don't need to see a house to negotiate. And that's more time that I have for myself or for a different client instead of just driving to show a house.
oh yeah, and I think that the new system that is coming into place with the exclusives or showing agreements will help us a lot because I that year I think I sold 48 homes, but I know that I had at least 30, 40 people that I just showed houses to
Yeah.
that would have been probably eliminated with a buyer's consultation and an agreement. Because here, I am super busy. You want to work with me? There's a $500 retainer.
Correct.
What do you
Yeah.
mean? I'm like, yeah, that will go towards my commission at the end. So no
Yeah.
worries. You'll get that back once you
Correct.
buy a house.
House.
But if you're
Right.
not serious about buying a house, this is not the right time to start. If you're not serious about getting a pre approval letter, you're probably not serious about buying a house.
I've been really strong on that this year. Now that my business is growing, if I feel like you're just wasting time, I don't want to work with you. I don't care. I don't want the listing. I don't want the buyer because I want to work with buyers who are ready. And they might not be ready like next week. It might be another year, but I want to show that I want to see that you're serious and you're not just wasting your time or my time.
especially in our areas. Florida is a really transient
Yeah.
state. We have people coming from up north just for vacations or whatever. It's a rainy day. Disney's down the road. Oh, we
Mhm.
don't know what to do today. Hey, let's look at some houses. I'm like, great. Call the first agent that pops up on Google. And if
Yeah.
you're a good agent, you're popping up on Google or Zillow or
Yep.
realtor.com or wherever you're advertising. And hey, can we just go look at this house quickly? Like, we're only in town for one day. So if you're only in town for one day, you're probably not a serious buyer.
Yeah.
If you're looking to buy a house, you came for a week or two to look at some houses.
And buyers know now what they are looking for. I know what I want in a house. I'm not just gonna go look at houses from 100K to 600K for just because I want to. I know what I want. I want a two-car garage. I want a four-bedroom house. Buyers have a lot of access to the internet and they can see what they want, and there's no reason to waste time.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. So, what message do you have for clients, especially those who feel like the real estate industry isn't built for them? I would say I would rephrase that for agents. So,
For
clients.
agents, yeah.
Yeah.
I think you have to communicate and understand the client. Don't just, it's no commission breath, because all they're thinking about is the money. And you need to understand that buyers, they need the extra guidance, and they can do research on their own too, but they still need somebody to educate them with the contracts and stuff like that. So I would say just understand them, listen to them, let them talk, don't interrupt them, and then you should be on a smooth path to closing on that home.
Yeah. So, tell me about what's next for you, Yashmit. Any big goals for the next year?
Yes, I would like to buy our first investment property or open a business, is what our goals are. I think first do an investment property and then do another business. So
Okay.
I'm not about to work when I'm 65, or I don't want to be worried about a paycheck when I'm in the senior age.
No, we don't. This is a really good advice for real estate agents, by the way. I own my own investment properties as well. And I think that's one of the things that you should be doing besides spending all your money on your business. That's another thing you should always invest into is your own business. But I've been really frugal about growing. I don't have a boat, I don't have jet skis. I could afford it, but if there's a good deal out there, I'd rather buy another
Right.
house. Or if I could see a good buy in the stock market, I'd rather do that than buy myself a jet ski or boat. But at the end of the day, you got to reward yourself. Of course, that's what we were talking about. But I think major rewards like a boat and like a jet ski should come down the road. You should really
Yeah.
focus on having that passive income besides your real estate income. Because guess what happens when you go sick and you can't work? If you work for yourself and you don't have a team built up, your money, the cash flow stops coming in. So you got to build like this side gig sort of thing, which is rental properties or a good investment portfolio in stock market, et cetera, where you could grow additional wealth for yourself. I
I'm
really,
amazed of all this, like the sellers that I represent, and they sell their properties after 20, 25 years, and all that equity that they get. I'm like, wow. And that's what got me into, we're like, we need to buy, me and my husband, we need to buy our first investment property.
oh yeah, it's a good market to buy. I say this to all my investors, and because blood's on the streets starting to say, but our inventory is insanely high now compared to where it
Yes.
was a few years ago. We six times our inventory since 2022, and when it was the lowest low was 600 houses on the market in the Daytona area. Now we're at 3,600 houses on the market. So we have
Yeah.
3,600 houses on the market. There's 3,600 sellers that are eager to sell.
Yep.
You just have to go to find those right ones that are willing to negotiate with you and get the right deal. Investors or buyers out there, oh, the interest rates are high. I can't afford. Oh, go in with a good agent and they'll get you a good deal. They'll get you a good deal. If
Sellers are willing to drop the price. Like,
yeah,
don't want buyers to think that they're not. And I've been helping a lot of buyers this month, and they are willing to work. They want to sell as much as the buyer wants to buy. So we can meet in the middle somewhere.
oh yeah. And there's another thing I always like to tell my buyers is if when the market turns around, because it's always cyclical. So it's sellers
Yeah.
market, buyers market, sellers market, buyers market, balance market, all that. The three markets shift. When we get into a balanced market, there'll be some sellers that will pay your agents their commission. There
Mhm.
will be some sellers that won't. When we get into seller's market, I'd say 90% of those sellers will not pay a commission to the buyer's agents. You'll be
Yep.
relying on a buyer on yourself to come up with the fees that you're gonna have to come up with to you, or
Take
you're gonna
advantage
go
of
out
that
there and try to
now.
negotiate yourself, and that's gonna be hard, you
They
know?
need to take advantage of that now. The buyers have a good chance right now to
Yeah.
that house.
Exactly. Seller concessions plus commissions plus a discount plus fix this and that. You're going into a decent deal with 5, 10, 15% discount.
Mhm.
I don't know where else you can get that. And in a housing market, I'm talking like that's a lot of discount in a housing market.
I've seen that now. I have a buyer who's getting 30K off of the appraisal just because the seller's willing to sell, and that's a $30,000 equity at closing.
Yeah. That already paid for your fees and everything, bank fees,
Yeah,
etc.
so buyers, you guys gotta look now.
Get out there, get out there. So, if you'd like to connect with Yashmit, you can connect with her on social media. Here are some plugs. You can follow her on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn. She's all over the place. Just search for at YKG Sells Florida, FL. Sorry, YKG Sells FL. That's where you're going to find her. It's also going to be in the description, her email address, phone number. If you need her to help you out or give you some good advice, you can definitely reach out to her. Yashmit, do you have anything else to add?
Well, I appreciate this, and a message to my buyers and sellers. Just reach out to me if you have any questions. You don't have to work with me. I'm always available to answer any questions you might have via email or phone call. But I appreciate this. I learned a lot from you today as well.
That's what this is for. Us
Yeah,
working together
I loved
and
it.
building a better environment for our clients. So this was an incredible conversation with Yashmit Gutierrez, a
Thank
realtor who's
you.
not just closing deals, but opening doors for everyone, every type of buyer and seller across Florida. Whether you're navigating your first home purchase or wondering why your listing hasn't moved, her insights today are proof that real estate is as much about connecting as it is about contracts. If you found value in today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share this with someone who needs to hear it. And be sure to follow Yashmit on all platforms to keep up with her amazing work in the Sunshine State. Until next time, keep your deals smart and your mindset sharper. This is the Real Estate Roundtable.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us on Sir Lancelot's Real Estate Roundtable, where we've unveiled the mysteries of real estate together. Remember, in this kingdom of possibilities, every dream home is just a discussion away. I can help your real estate dreams come true. Just call me at 786-449-7518. Until our next roundtable, may your ventures be prosperous and your homes be filled with love and joy. Farewell, fellow knights of real estate.